Happy Saturday! At least it's Saturday in our part of the world, and of course that means it's time for another tale from the town of Meh, formerly called Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy. If you remember where we left off, hoppity hop, the town planner for Meh, formerly known as Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy, had been captured by Victor Sr. Victor Vomit Sr. and his goony goons had captured him. The city planner, Alphonse Ludicrous, hoppity hop, because they wanted him to explain to them how the jetpack worked, because Victor wanted to use it to fly all around the world so he could find property for which he could build on large mansions for snobby rich people. Yes, lots of people in the world like that these days. Anyways, so they kept hoppity hop in a cage and threatened to make him into a stew unless he cooperated. And then, if you remember last week, the Triksy Gnome had appeared and said he was there to help. And they were just having a conversation when they heard Victor's people approaching, maybe even Victor Vomit himself. And so the Triksy Gnome went invisible, as Triksy Gnomes are wont to do, and just whispered, "Tell them to bring the jetpack. I have a plan," just before they entered the door. So Hoppity Hop said, "I'm okay to agree with you. I will help you figure out how the jetpack works. Do you have it? Can you bring it to me?" And so they did. And this is what happened. Because the planner, Alphonse Ludicrous Hoppity Hop, was very smart, and he kind of figured out what the Triksy Gnome had in mind. So they let him out of the cage, and he took the jetpack, and he started to demonstrate to them how it worked. You see, he said, you put it on here, and you snap it on here, and he stood it up so they could see what he was doing. And then he talked about the booster rockets, and you see they go here and here. What they didn't realize is the whole time, he was actually strapping it onto the invisible Triksy Gnome. Of course, they couldn't tell because the gnome was invisible. So he was doing this and that, and then they said, "How does it work?" Victor was so excited, Victor Vomit, he said, "What buttons do I press? What buttons do I press?" And he said, "Oh, well, that's easy. This one is for stopping. This one is for slowing down. This one is to activate the boosters. And this one is for ignition start." And he pressed it. And the jetpack fired up, and as soon as it did, Hoppity Hop jumped on the invisible gnome, which kind of freaked the people out that were in the room. And they started flying around, and they're like, "What are you doing? How are you doing that? It's not even on your back." And he said, "I have no idea. It's not working right. Anyways, goodbye." And so they flew out the door. They buzzed Victor Goon's heads over. They had to duck and circled around Victor for fun a few times, who was screaming and squawking because he thought they were going to bang into his head and knock it off. And away they went out the door, right through the open door and out through the roof. So fast. It was an open roof. They didn't hurt themselves. And on they went. And they hurried back they didn't even stop to see the North Pole. Instead, they zoomed right back to Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy, now called Meh, excuse me, to warn the Grand Cow. And you see, all along, because they were aware of what Victor might be up to in the future, they worked with Smiley Wiggle, formerly known as Victor Jr., his son, Monsieur Pot-Tot Smiley Wiggle, Wiggle Smiley, sorry, and off they went, and they got the Grand Cow and Wiggle Smiley together, and they explained what had happened. They said, "This is serious. He is coming after us. We need to activate the barn door protocol." If you ever saw Avengers Endgame, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so that's because the city planner was a fan, and he built the whole idea when he proposed it. He built the whole idea. He proposed it to the Grand Cow, and they thought it was wonderful. So he and Victor Jr. worked together on it. I should say Wiggle Smiley. And then they had it all ready to go. So the mayor made a loud announcement that went all through the town with her loudspeaker, saying to all the talking animals and all the humans in Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy, now called Meh, "Alert, alert, red alert. Please be aware, we are engaging barn door protocol. Our town will now be isolated and separated out and protected from the rest of the world." And she pressed the protocol activate button, and so it happened. And Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy, now called Meh, became invisible and unseen to the rest of the world, which was great because Victor Vomit was so upset. He and his henchmen, whom he ordered, were now on their way to Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy to invade it and take it over anyways. He was so angry. But of course, they had no idea that they would never find it, because the barn door protocol was working perfectly, because Hoppity Hop was a very intelligent, smart, and wise planner. And that's how things end for today. We'll see what happens next week in the town of Meh, formerly called Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy. Please don't forget to check out my website, BariumFellingerAuthor.com, and all my other social media links on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. I will put those links in the chat. And we will see you next week. Have a wonderful week, fans of Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy, now called Meh. And please leave your comments if you like. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today.